Hello. I wanted to share with you guys something that I've been working on for the last few months. Um, Something that I'm pretty proud of so far, and I believe it's something that's needed to change the industry. So, for those who don't remember, I left the private industry almost 6 months ago now. It's crazy. Time flies. And in those 6 months, I've learned the world of education, academia, and in that time, I've I found that I didn't like what I saw. And what I mean by that is I didn't like the resources that the students had to buy. Academia is supposed to be a gateway for someone to better themselves, for somewhere where they can learn a new skill or a new trade and move on to a better life. But the cost of entry is so high. I find that there's got to be a better way. And so, I'm pretty pleased to share with you guys what I've been working on for the last few months, and it is called LabTech. So, as I get into this, let me tell you a little bit about why I did this. A lot of the classes that I teach are in the IT realm, most of them cybersecurity, some in the networking realm, and while sometimes some of the classes are pretty affordable, like I give mad props to Cisco and Net Academy just because they pretty much give the students free access to all of the material that they need to be able to go get Cisco certified. Now we all know on the back end Cisco itself is pretty expensive, but I give them mad props for giving out material pretty much for free. Now on the other hand, we've got CompTIA. I love CompTIA. CompTIA themselves have wonderful tests, they have wonderful examinations, and they really are raising that bar for the students to, prove their knowledge. But the materials that they provide are now getting absorbent. And what I mean by that is they're so expensive. I was looking at what CertMaster cost for just the book and maybe the labs, and we're talking $700-800 for a set of books for one class. That cost of entry is too high. So what do we do about it? Well, people like us in the industry need to come up with better solutions. So I decided to make LabTech. LabTech itself, let me find my mouse here. Here we go. Found it. LabTech is designed to be an open source free software. So I wanted to basically take computer training of what we have today and bridge the gap. I want to be able to bring on hands-on learning from theory to practice and make sure that that cost of entry is much lower than it used to be. There's been lots of materials out there like Cybex and other books that are very affordable. But for the labs, there's nothing that's been very affordable. Either the college or the institution itself would have to take on that and create a large undertaking of costs, or they would need to put all that cost on the student, and that's what they've been doing. So, what is LabTech? Well, I wanted to provide a solution that is going to be free. That was number one. Open source and fully customizable. It needed to be easy for the instructors to use. So, it is definitely a hands-on virtual lab. I made it as customizable and flexible as possible. I wanted to make sure that the students had a way to apply the theory into practice. Definitely something. I wanted to make sure that the machines that the students are able to use are individualized, which means if they get into a machine for cybersecurity and they were able to hack into it for a cyber defense class or a Red Hat class, Red Team class, then they would not affect another student. They needed to be either guided or non-guided. So depending on where we are in our journey as a student, the students themselves are going to be needing a lot of hand-holding or very little. And as they move through this journey, we expect them to be able to use this practical knowledge in a more non-guided situation. And so I wanted to make sure that the steps themselves were customizable to the point where the instructor can decide how much hand-holding they want to give the student. Do they want to give them a click-by-click solution, or do they want the student to be able to go through the solution themselves and be proud of making it to the other end? I wanted to make sure that there was minimal hardware requirements. And so this could be either on-prem or in the cloud. It doesn't matter. But what I did want to make sure of was that we utilize technologies that saved hardware resources. For instance, this software is actually on the back end has Proxmox. Proxmox is a free open source VM software. Proxmox itself is wonderful. They've been doing a great job at providing something that's going to be a huge competitor to VMware one day. But they also offer things like linked clones, where I can make a template and create a linked clone in seconds of that template, creating a fully unique environment without needing the additional storage for it. So definitely minimal hardware. And then last but not least, we need to make sure it's a free platform for educators. So let's go to the next slide. Key features, definitely full interactive labs. These are full simulated environments. They need to be as well as possible. Another feature that we've added into it is we are now able to use full lab recordings and screen shares. There's a lot of other open software like Apache Guacamole. What's nice about using Guacamole here is it gives us the additional benefits and features. We need to be able to track a student's progress of when they get things right, when they get things wrong, when they've completed certain tasks. That's been in here. We wanted to make sure this is 100% hands off. So once the instructor and the institution sets this up, they set up the lab, there's nothing else they need to do. The instructors may want to go in there and check from time to time to see how the students are doing, or maybe aid a student, but the software itself should be 100% hands off. The grading should be automatic. And then the other thing about automatic is we wanted to make sure that we gave the students instant feedback of correct or wrong. So we did that. We added another feature called Capture the Flag. So the course can be actually added as a Capture the Flag course or a normal course. If you run it as a Capture the Flag course, it will keep track of points for competitions. And this is where you can add in questions for flags, and then if the student put the correct flag in, it gives them the points. But it's a two form factor here is where the instructors themselves are able to also be able to take this material and use it as points for a lab. So if you wanted to give this lab 100 points, each question could be weighted however you feel like it, and then you can see what the final grade is for the student. It is definitely 100% based on open source architecture, mainly because of we want to make it low cost for the students and the institutions alike. The open source architecture is 100% needed. We needed to make sure that the cost of entry is going to be very low, and we also wanted to make sure that future development can be done by anybody. I want this to be a community-driven product, and in the end, we will start building more and more plugins for it and be able to expand its capabilities. Design your own courses, import-export courses, and then one of the last features is we wanted to provide an online repository. So this online repository would be a place that instructors alike can share their labs, and these labs can then be imported into other institutions for use for the students. So I keep talking about open source architecture. What is this currently built on? Well, let me tell you. So the front end itself is a flat, a custom front end design for mobility. It's mostly a Django website, Python and HTML, CSS portability with a little bit of JavaScript in there, all mixed in for a wonderful front end. Now this front end basically can follow stuff like the React framework, but we didn't really use a framework because we didn't want to be completely tied into a framework. We were able to use an Nginx. So Nginx is a reverse proxy, and this allows us more flexibility and expandability. So as you get more students, you can add in more nodes into the cluster and be able to expand this to as many students as you need it to be. It is a MySQL backend, very resilient backend. MySQL's been around for years. We use Guacamole to help tie in connectivity between Proxmox and the front end for the students. This allows us to have pretty much an forever expandable system where if we needed to have more systems, we could add more systems in the back end. And then Proxmox itself is definitely our virtual environment. So that was one of the big things that we wanted to make sure is everything that we used here is open source or free. So initially, we've already have LDAP integration installed on the program, and actually we recommend it. LDAP just makes it a lot easier. Most environments are still using Active Directory or an Active Directory form system, or at least an OAuth system. So a third party with some third party authentication capability. So as I said, we built everything on a flexible architecture because we wanted to make sure that this is not a one size fits all for everybody. We want to make sure that the technology is scalable and flexible for anybody who is going to be using it. So again, benefits for the students themselves. We definitely have there's a wide range of advantages for using LabTech in your environment. Is for one, you're giving your students a practical learning environment. No longer are we only focused on lectures and theory. We can now give them physical labs that they will be typing into a real box, the rules and the steps that they're needed to complete it. Now, there are other softwares that have been doing this. Like CertMaster does a pretty okay job with this, but what I find is sometimes the labs just don't go deep enough. The labs themselves will say, click this button, and they click this button, and they have no clue why they click this button. So now that we can have a live system, we can have it to the point where the student themselves could either install the operating system themselves from beginning to end, or they can go in and learn Nmap from themselves, or maybe they want to learn Python, and so we give them a blank machine with an IDE on it and with the interpreter, and walk them through creating their first Hello World program, whatever it may be. This will help gain their confidence and their skills developments during IT infrastructure, mainly because the real world environment is the real world. When they only learn theory and they get to the real world, I feel that they don't have the confidence yet because they've never touched the technology in real life. And so this helps bridge that gap. This also gives them access to resources. Many people are not going to have a home lab sitting in their basement. So access to resources such as, hey, let's set up a pfSense firewall or a Cisco firewall, or let's install Windows Server 2022 into an environment and set up a brand new active domain controller. This gives them the ability to pretty much use all those resources without the financial barriers. And then I wanted to make sure that it was flexible. This is pretty much a system that you can go in and go from beginning to end at your own pace. And so the system itself, while it does have dates assigned for labs and classes, they're not really enforced per se. If you're using this for a class, maybe you'll put a due date on something that you want the students to complete a lab by. But really, the system itself is designed for flexibility. So if they only have time at 2 o'clock in the morning to complete the lab, the system will be available for them to do so. Career readiness, we already talked about that. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable when they're using the tools themselves. Benefits for educators, definitely easy integrations. It takes very little effort, very little hardware to get this done. I can see many people using this on hand-me-down hardware just because you really don't need new and new shiny hardware to run something like this. It all depends on your student base, how many students you're going to have in there. But for us, we can put a good 50 students, 80 students through the system at any given point, and it's fine. And we're talking about concurrent students too. If you want to go more, again, it is scalable. So want to make sure that you can make your own labs, or you can download some pre-done labs. That's something that's very important. We want to make sure the resource efficiency is there. We want to make sure that we can monitor the performance of the students, and then we just want to make sure that if you're dealing with this, we want to make sure that the students have everything they have for professional development. So I'll show you the actual user interface here in the next video. But for this video, let's just do a quick introduction. As I said, it's easy to use. It's fast and responsive. It is definitely have a lot of protections in it and authentication integrations. And as I said before, this can be 100% off the network if you want it to be and be fully independent. It doesn't have to be internet facing. So how do we want to get started? Now, we took a lot of thought process to this. And at first, we were just going to give it away for free on the internet. But honestly, that takes away the advantage that institutions will actually get off of this. I don't want this software to be completely stolen by a third party where they're going to bank a bunch of money off of it, because that's not what this is for. So the first step that we're going to have people do is on our website, we will definitely have a way for you to verify your EDU institution. So you fill out a quick form, and we just want to make sure that you are an EDU institution. We will give you the access to this user guidance software. And then if you want, this is something that we can add on if you need it. We can offer training and support. Now, while I am giving away the software for free, the training and support, my time is worth a lot to me. So, between family and everything. So optional training and support is available, but it will come at a cost. Now, with that said, we will definitely build out the community, and so we can have the community share their experiences, ask questions, and help each other. And we want that to be a full collaborative environment. And for the reason for is this way we can all work on the roadmap together. We can figure out what the next features or bugs that we're seeing in the software, and we can have continuous improvement. We want this to be the best of the best that an EDU institution can utilize and be as involved as they feel like. So I thank you guys for spending the last almost 20 minutes with me and learning a little bit about LabTech and where we're headed with it. And so the next video that we'll be posting is going to be a physical walkthrough of LabTech itself. I'll log in from the different roles and show you guys exactly how the software is currently functioning in the current alpha state. So as it improves and it grows, I hope to see a lot more advancements in the software. But for right now, it's doing pretty good for how easy it is to use. So I'll catch you next time.